meatless episode of the Anodized Chef? Get out of here. No, for real. We're gonna take this eggplant, we're gonna knock it down, and we're gonna layer it lasagna style. We're gonna teach you the breading technique. This thing is awesome. When I make it, you're gonna see how I make it. You're gonna wanna make it yourself, trust me. You're not even gonna miss the meat. Stick around and check this out. Welcome to another episode of the Anodized Chef, where we are bringing heavy metal to your stovetops into your lives. And we're going to start with a fresh garden variety eggplant that we picked up, and you can get it at any produce section. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you today how to knock it down. We're going to cut it into slices, and then we're going to run it through a breading technique. And this is a very standard breading technique that you can do in any capacity. You can use it with chicken, you can use it with veal, you can use it with pork chops. There's all different cuts of meat and vegetables that you can use this breading technique that we're about to do on. But let's start by getting it cleaned up first, and I'll run through that with you, and then we'll get into the breading of it. So we're going to take the ends off. Make sure your knife is good and sharp. And the knife that I'm using is a boning knife. And really, it's a smaller knife, but I got a real nice edge on it. I make sure I put a good sharp edge on it, so that way there it's going to cut right through the skin, and we don't lose a lot of the meat. You can use a peeler, but the eggplant skin is really, really tough, and so that's why I recommend using a good blade. Just try to get it as close to the skin as you can. Now, what you're really trying to do is to develop a flat surface, so your vegetables not moving around too much. So what you want to do is you cut the end off. Try to stand it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and just try to get the knife just under the skin a little bit. And just run it right down the length of that eggplant. And then what we'll do is we'll go all the way around the eggplant in that same fashion. Just run it down. And see how I'm trying my best to not take a whole lot of the eggplant meat off, but we just want to get that skin off. Always cut away from you with the knife too. Never come in like this, because you can always slip by accident and hit yourself and cut yourself. So you always want to kind of go away from your body when you're doing stuff like this. Just a little safety lesson real quick. Just about there. Okay, now let's clean up our mess here. Put that off to the side. Now, we take our cleaned up eggplant and we're going to cut it into strips. And what we're going to do is, we're just going to take it, and you want to go probably about, I'd say, 1/4 inch. Don't worry if they're not evenly sliced. I mean, look at this. I've got a real thin piece here and it's really thick right there. But don't worry about it, it's okay, because you want to try to get it as uniform as possible. And what we do here is, at the restaurant, is we use a slicing machine, and that gives it a perfect thickness all the way through. But when you're doing it by hand, it's fine, it's not a big deal. The only thing is your layers just kind of get a little bit, the height gets a little bit thrown off with it, but that's fine. Remember one thing, it's just dinner, don't stress too much about it. Have fun with it, that's the biggest thing. So I'm cutting this into strips, and I'm trying to go about a 1/4 inch, but some of them are coming out more like a half, and that's fine. So, there, now we got our slices of eggplant, and that's it. Now, one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is, a lot of people, and I've worked in a lot of restaurants, I've been in the business for a long time, and I see people, they want to salt it, they want to press it, they want to squeeze all the bitterness out of it, and that is a pretty good technique if you're using it in certain applications. I've seen people do it for eggplant parmesan. However, I'm gonna pass on that, because I think that the way that we do this, whatever tartness is in that eggplant is gonna add to the whole dish. So we're gonna leave it alone. We want it to be at its freshest quality at this point. We go and salt, like, basically the technique is, and I'm sorry, I just kind of threw that out there, but basically the technique is you throw some salt on it, probably about a 1/4 cup of salt on a whole batch of eggplant. You put it in a colander, and then you put a pan on top of it with weight. And what that does is it squeezes all the bitter juice out of the eggplant. Now, I understand the reasons why, but again, you know, in this application, I've never done it when I do it here at the restaurant, and I'm telling you right now, it's not going to make a bit of difference when we make this. It's actually going to be really, really good. So leave it as it is. Now we're going to switch over, and I'm going to bring the breading station out. We'll walk through that. We'll get this all breaded up, pan fry it, and then layer it in our pan. So check this out. So we're going to start our breading process with 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I've got about 3 cups of regular breadcrumbs. You can throw some Italian seasoning in there, dried basil, dried oregano, dried parsley. If you want, you can throw fresh herbs in there if you want. Right now I've just got plain breadcrumbs. I'm going to go with our famous Edge. So what I'm going to do is I've got the 3 cups of flour. I'm going to put about a tablespoon of the Edge in that. I've got about 3 cups of breadcrumbs, and the same thing. I'm just going to season it with about a tablespoon of the Edge as well. Now for the egg wash, I've got 3 eggs scrambled. I'm going to put that right in the middle pan. And I've got these 3 pans here that are set up so we can just kind of go right through the process here. Then I've got some cream. I've got about a cup of cream. And then I've got some water here. I've got probably about a cup and a half of water, but I'm only going to add maybe about a half a cup of water to it. And really what the water is there to do is it's there to kind of thin it down, because as we go forward with the breading, it's going to get really thick. So we want to have that water there just to kind of thin it down as we go. Okay, so the first step in breading is, one of the techniques is one wet, one dry. That's one of the things they teach you in culinary school. So that way there you can bang out a lot of pieces without having to go wash your hands. Because if you think about it, if you go in dry, then both hands in the wet, then both hands in dry again, then both hands in dry again, and you just keep going through the process, you're going to have big balls of double, triple, quadruple breaded fingertips. So it's a really great technique to learn, and it helps to kind of keep your hands clean and efficient so you can kind of go right through the process. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the piece of eggplant. We'll take the first piece and we're going to dip it in the egg wash first, because it's really a dry vegetable, so we want to get it started to be wet. And then we're going to dip it in the flour, and we're going to do what's called dredging it. And what dredging means is dragging it through so it gets in every nook and cranny. Now an eggplant doesn't have too many cavities in there, so there's not too much there to worry about. But like a piece of chicken or an uneven cut of veal, or after you pound it, it's got those little grooves in it. So it's always good to give it that dredge, and that's just to drag it through. And then you want to just kind of tap it off on the side of the pan to get the excess flour off. And go right back into the egg wash again. And then I'm using the other hand as the wet hand. So we're going to give it a flip. We'll pick it up. We'll put it in the dry. And then look what I'm doing. I'm going right into the breadcrumbs with the dry hand. We'll just give it a good breading. And what that does now is it gives it a good coating, gets us ready for our pan frying. So now we're going to just do that with the rest of these pieces. Remember, one wet, one dry, into the flour. Dry hand goes back into the wet, and then into the seasoned breadcrumbs. There we go. We're just going to do that with the remaining pieces. Alright, so we're going to start with breaded. We've got a breaded eggplant. I've got a pan here, and I've got probably about a cup and a half of oil. Now you can use canola, vegetable, soybean, corn oil, whatever you're comfortable using. We've got a blend here with canola and olive, and I think you've heard us talk about that in a few of the prior episodes. But then we've also got a plate here with lined with a towel, so that way there we can kind of drip, put the cutlets when they come out of the oil onto a drip plate, so that way there it's not soft and greasy, it's up to take the oil off. Alright, so the best way to tell, now I've got this on, right now I've got it on medium-high heat, and again, now I've got a little bit more oil than I would normally put in there for a saute, because we're actually pan frying. So you have to be very, very careful, because when this comes up to temperature, it's very easy to get burned with it. So you're going to be very, very careful when you work with it. Best way to tell when the oil is hot enough to start cooking it, is take a pinch of the breadcrumbs, and just kind of drop in there, and it's sizzling right away, so we know that it's good to go. So we're just going to kind of give it one last tap to make sure that any leftover breadcrumbs aren't lingering around on there. We're going to drop it. Now when you drop it into the oil, you drop it away from you all the time. Because if that end hits in that oil and it splashes, you want it to splash away from you, so that way that if you drop it toward you, you're going to find yourself jumping back and saying, ah! So now this is rolling pretty strong, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. You can see that it's already really cranking, and I don't want the breadcrumbs to burn before the eggplant has a chance to actually cook. So look at that. Oh, look at that color. Beautiful. So we're going to do this technique, and we're just going to fry it up, and we're going to After it's done cooking on both sides, probably about 3 to 4 minutes, we're going to do each piece, and then we're going to line it all up, and then we'll get ready to layer our pan with the eggplant. So, just kind of getting some close shots of this technique here, and we'll be able to see how we do it. I'm going to let it go. Now, you want, like I said, you want to let it go for 3 or 4 minutes because you want that meat to get tender at the same time. I mean, you are going to bake it, so it's going to cook eventually anyway, but you definitely want to get it, kind of preempt it a little bit by getting some cooked ahead. Just tap off the extra breadcrumbs, so that way you don't contaminate the oil. So what happens is it'll burn, and then it'll get your oil to burn a lot faster. It'll give it an off taste. So, oh yeah, now we're cooking, baby. Okay, so what I've done is I've fried up 2 eggplants the same way we did it just now, so that way that we have enough to layer. This will actually feed about 6 to 8 people by the time we're done. But I've got a regular half hotel pan, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make it, like I was talking about earlier, we're going to make it lasagna style. So I went ahead and I fried up about 2 whole eggplants, and that'll be enough to make layers in here for our lasagna. So the other ingredients that we're going to need is I've got 3 cups of house marinara. You can use your favorite sauce, or you can actually take the sauce from our Epic Meatballs episode and use that sauce if you want. That's got the diced tomatoes in it, the San Marzanos, but that's a very good marinara also, so you can use that in this as well. I've got about a cup of mozzarella, shredded mozzarella. I've got about 3/4 of a cup to a cup of powdered Parmesan cheese, and I have about a cup of my favorite Asiago cheese. And I also have a little bit of the edge here, just in case we want to pinch that in there as well, which we will do. So, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a ladle, and I'm just going to put a little bit of sauce down the bottom. Okay. We'll start with sauce. And like I said, we're going to layer this. So, we'll take this, and we'll just be careful now. You want to give these things time to cool too, because now I'm working with hot stuff here. Okay. So now, we started with sauce, and that's really mainly so it doesn't stick on the bottom. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little more sauce on top here. Just kind of go across this way. Now, pinch of each cheese on top. Putting some Parmesan on there. Putting some Asiago on there. Now, this is a good opportunity also if you wanted to put something like maybe a wilted spinach in there, or some sort of a, you really want to make it sexy, and this is the time. Just like a lasagna, you're going to layer it in steps. But we're just going to do true eggplant parm, so we're going to continue forward. But this time, here's the trick to this. Now we went in this direction, we went vertical this time. Now we're going to go horizontal. Watch what happens. When we cut it, it'll stay a little bit more solid too. One more little piece right there. There we go. Again with the sauce. And the great thing about this dish too is once you get to this step, it does seem like it's a lot of work, but trust me, it's worth every minute. But once it's done and it goes in the oven, it's easy. Piece of cake. Now it's all set. But this step is easy. It's all the frying and breading, and that's a little bit of work, but trust me, it's worth it. It really, really is. So again, the 3 different cheeses, and then we're going to go with the 3rd layer. This will be our final layer. Now we went horizontally. This time we're going to go vertical, and we're going to go ahead and pack these things right in there. Now, and as you go, you kind of pay attention to how many pieces you're putting in there, so that way there, you make sure you have enough. So, and this is perfect. Now this is a 3-layer eggplant. Now the last piece is you just want to go with sauce. You don't want to put any cheese on the top because you don't want it to burn yet. So what I would do is out of those 3 cups of sauce, you put the remaining sauce right in there. Let it run down the sides, and that's fine. Now, we're going to pop this into the oven, probably about 325 for about a half an hour. And then what we'll do is we'll take it out, and that's when we'll put the cheese on it. We'll just melt the cheese on it at the very last step. Right before we get ready to cut it, we're just going to melt that on there real quick, and then we'll serve it with garlic bread. So, like I said, we'll pop this in the oven, about 325 for about 20 minutes, half hour, somewhere around there. We'll check it out. Alright, so let's take a look at this bad boy here. We are good to go. So now, to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to cut this, plate it up, and get ready for deliciousness. Now, depending on how many people you have coming, you can cut this into 9, you can cut this into 6, it goes straight across. It'd be huge if you cut it into 6. But I would recommend cutting it into 9. Plate a little bit here on the side. Now see, that's 9. Now they could always go back and get a second helping. Really making it for 6. Get some sauce here. A little more sauce over the top would be perfect. Just a little bit over the top. Oh yeah, baby. And that is where it's at. Now, get a good look at this pan here. Nice melted eggplant parmesan. And I'll tell you something, this thing is going to eat amazing. You're not even going to realize there's no meat in it. It's nice to get this nice thick cutlets. You've got the layered lasagna style. You've got that sauce and cheese in there, the multiple different cheeses in it. We're serving it with some garlic bread on the side. You could also serve it with a garden salad maybe ahead of time. Perfect, 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 perfect. Okay, so that being said, let's talk about the wine. The wine that Bob selected for today's episode is a Bogle Vineyards Pinot Noir. It's a 2009, and it's a perfect pick. Once again, he nailed it. Really, what we were trying to look for is something that would be bold enough to marry with the red sauce, but also mild enough to kind of accent the light eggplant that's in there too. And one of the things that I found on the nose of this red was that right away it was a lot more mild than a Merlot. And it had a really nice, well, I get like almost like a rubber, and that's kind of common in a lot of these lighter reds. Maybe elastic almost, but the flavor is very, very bright and fruity as opposed to a red, and the finish is very, very, it's not as strong as a deep, deep Merlot, but it's a very much lighter red. And it's very, very upper fruity, like berry. It's delicious. It's perfect to go with this eggplant because it's a lighter red, and I can't say anything else about it. So, with that being said, thank you very much for joining us in our magic, madness, and mayhem. We'll see you next time.